live long and prosperous.
I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Shut up and take my money.
By Grabthar's hammer. What a saving.
One does not simply walk into Mordor.
X never, ever marks the spot.
Winter is coming. You're a wizard, Harry.
Stay a while and listen.
Hey, old Kermit the Frog.
Bow ties are cool.
So say we all.
This is a Play on Nerds.
Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, boys, and girls of all ages, to episode 199 of A Play on Nerds. As always, I'm Steve.
And I'm Jarman.
And we're here to co-host the hell out of this. And this week, we have a doozy. In honor of A Quiet Place Day 1, the much-anticipated third installment in the Quiet Place series, we're honoring a different third installment in a beloved alien invasion movie franchise. Of course, we're talking about, with a very special rule of 3, Species 3 coming at your face.
We all know you love it. You've all seen it. It's great.
Everyone's watched it. Every middle school boy has watched it.
Or at least watched the first one or two.
And
Maybe
we are those middle school boys.
Yes.
But before we get to that just sweet gem in the rough, Jarman, what have you been up to since last time we talked?
Oh, well, so much that I was like, I even forgot to take any notes down of like what I did, because this past week and a half, or when we've recorded last, I've just been working nonstop. I've been trying to put myself in a schedule to have an audiobook a week that I'm working on, which is the fastest schedule I've ever had, but I've been in the most demand recently. So I'm like, might as well try. And it just means working 12-hour days, sometimes a little bit too longer than that. But I have a bunch of books that are going to be released out soon, all with big hunky men in the front covers, you know, me voicing all of them. But yeah, so I've just been trying to do that. And my wife just got out of being teaching. She's off for the summer. So she's helping out more with cooking dinner and doing things around the house, because I'm just basically in my office all day. So it's been nice. And she's been helping out a lot. And that's basically what I've been up to. I'm out of steam, man. And there's tornado warning. So if the podcast goes out, you'll know why, folks.
But I bet you if you die, I'll definitely get some sympathy listens, right?
Some likes and subscribes.
That's what Jarman would have wanted.
If I die in a tornado, like and subscribe.
Oh no! If you die in a tornado, this whole podcast is done, because I don't have passwords to anything.
That's true. Maybe we should fix that just in case.
Yeah, this brings up a very good hypothetical we need to discuss.
Only 199 episodes in.
It's like a what happens to the children if one of us dies kind of scenario.
Do we have a podcast godmother?
We do.
We need one. But what have you been up to, Steve?
Well, last time we recorded, that a span of craziness happened immediately after. I had a few days off. We did a day up at camp, the Bowman family camp.
Oh, yeah.
Played in the creek, made a fire, cooked some hot dogs, cooked s'mores, got out of there before a crazy downpour hit. And then the day after, we went to a wedding. And
Cousin's
then the day
wedding.
after that, it was my cousins, my last high school age cousins, graduation. That's right. Jake and Eli are both finally 18. We got them their graduation money. And now the deal is, this is the Bowman family rule, is now for Christmas, they don't get individual gifts.
Because they're too old now.
If they want to join us for Bowman family gift exchange, that's when they can do that. You're of age if you want to participate, but that's it.
So you have to opt in, basically.
Yeah, you have to opt into the gift, but the understanding is like that's where you have the opportunity to get gifts. Otherwise, once the cousin or kid is over 18, that's it.
That makes perfect sense.
Done. And then in nerdier news, I completed a campaign. I completed the Lost Mines of Fandelver with a group of very green players from work. And they've all said they want to stay on, and I'm making a few adjustments. We're bringing on one more player, but I'm also going to switch game systems.
Oh, to what system?
So I'm going from D&D 5e, and I've decided I wrestled back and forth between a few, and I've decided on ICRPG.
I've heard of it. Okay.
Which is one I've played before, but I played it with a lot of real D&D diehards. And it is D&D like and D&D Light. But because of that, my players that wanted crunchier mechanics and wanted to know distances and wanted to have tactical fights, it really drove them nuts.
Yeah. But for newer folks, it'd be kind of an easier thing.
For this greener group who's only been through one thing and is kind of still not fully grasping all the rules, I'm still in this perfect spot where I can do that. And plus, we're bringing on one more green person additionally. So between all those things, ICRPG is the winner. I also considered Dungeon World. And then another one that just came out that's getting crazy good reviews. It's from a guy called the Dungeon Coach. He's a YouTube personality who's actually a math teacher. And so he does a lot of the mathematical stuff behind mechanics and what it really equates to and that sort of stuff. And he released his own system called DC-20 that a lot of other personalities and people who I trust their opinion on is saying is what D&D 1 should be. Like it's the D&D 5e follow-on that we needed.
Which they're releasing the 5.5 soon, I think, is what they're saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, last I heard they're going D&D 1, and that's going to be it.
There you go.
That's their whole thing is they're going to D&D 1 and there's not going to be any more additions. This is going to be like the central thing.
They'll kind of update it as they go, but it'll be the same thing.
Almost like a video game.
Yeah. Like where the Adobe Creative Suite. It's no longer Adobe 5. It's just going to be the Creative Suite will continue to update.
Exactly. So DC-20 is a new system. I almost thought about doing that one, but then I'd be learning it too.
That's true.
And I don't want to do that to a group of players.
Yeah. Well, would you recommend that past campaign you just finished for new players?
Lost Mine of Phandelver is the beginning campaign for a reason. The upside is that it's a good length. I think we did ours in about 15 sessions. With a more experienced group, you could probably cut that down to like 11 or 12. My people were just kind of slow and there was a lot of explanation and that kind of thing. It rolls a lot of classic archetypes, like goblins are bad and want to hurt you. Those classic D&D archetypes. There's like a caster here for no reason in a tower, like those sort of things. So because of that, for new players that kind of think that's what D&D is, it plays into that.
Okay.
You're here to help this small town. There's a relic that's in threat of being discovered and exploited. Like a lot of very classic archetypes. The downside is that none of the combats are very crazy. There's some really weird story choices. The one that I change and I recommend everyone change is you go to this town and there's like, if you do it as written, there's like 50 mobs in this town. So it's just a slog. And then there's these non sequitur dragon cultists because there's a green dragon there.
Yeah.
And basically in D&D, once you introduce a dragon, nothing's going to mentally top that for your players. But that green dragon is just a side thing. And so it makes the fact that they're like going to go fight a drow princess like not a big deal because they already fought a dragon as a side thing. So because of that, there's some weird non sequiturs, some weird story element stuff. So I guess I had to make some major changes to make it bearable. Running it as is, I probably would not recommend.
It'd be very meh.
But experienced DM, you can throw in a flavor, plug in things here and there. You know when to raise the stakes on fights. Then yeah, you can do it.
Nice, because I might have some new group coming up soon if we ever have time. But because my wife really wants to play with her best friend Pam and her new boyfriend. So they want a couple of the girls and that she knows. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
I might just start them off first with the Honey Bear Heist because that's just a classic.
Yeah, Honey Heist. And then I'm not sure. You played Dungeon World, right?
Yeah, I did for a little bit.
Yeah, and I think Dungeon World is a great system for like lighter, more cinematic, silly.
They build their own
play.
world.
The only real downside is that Dungeon World admittedly puts more weight on the DM than many other systems.
Which I don't mind as much as long as I have time to prepare.
An experienced DM isn't going to have a problem with it. It's just Dungeon World is nothing. I would not recommend to a new DM.
Well, I've been running that fairy campaign for D&D for like 2 years now because we've been playing so on and off. So
Beyond the Witchlight.
Yeah, and I've gotten some experience, but it's just been so infrequently that I just forget stuff over long periods of time. But we do have a little bit of feedback before we move on. Just from our good old friend Sean Vanderloo, who was recently married. He mentioned on Facebook for our last episode, for the Planet of the Apes episode, for Conquest of the Planet of the Apes he mentioned, I can't wait for this one. And so I hope it lived up to your hopes, Sean, because...
or I'm sorry we disappointed you.
Yes.
One of those two things is true.
One of those two. But I think that brings us to some nerdy news.
Nerdy news.
That's the wrong thing.
That kind of works, though.
It kind of did.
Also,
I can't see
I'm
the
all
buttons.
right. I'm okay with that.
I've got my young person glasses on. I can't see the thing from over here.
I say we leave it.
We leave it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's time for Nerdy News.
All right, so this time around, my story is Wi-Fi woes, tribal temptations. Ooh. So Elon Musk's Starlink satellite has just recently given access to the internet to this tribe in the Amazon called the Marubos. Hope I'm saying that right. And it's the first time they've had access to the internet ever, because they're a pretty isolated tribe. And things were great at first, you know, they get to talk to people in outside villages. They can basically arrange and find out where they can get supplies and that kind of thing, until they all started getting lazy and addicted to porn very quickly. So one of the tribal elders said, when it arrived, everyone was happy, but now things have gotten worse. Young people have gotten lazy because of the internet. They're learning the ways of the white people. But then she added, but please don't take our internet away. One of the leaders also said young men were sharing explicit videos in group chats, a stunning development for a culture that frowns on kissing in public. And on the other hand, apparently access to the internet has also already saved a couple of their tribespeople from dying from snake bites because they were able to contact local doctors to get there in time to save them, where in the past they would just die because they're so isolated. So it's had good and bad effects, but the immediate addiction to porn was probably what should have been expected.
I mean, that's what happened to me in middle school. So that checks out.
Yeah, we were a tribe with no internet and suddenly we got it and we're like, porn. Gosh. We were the Planet of the Apes with the porn. But yeah, that's Wi-Fi woes, tribal temptations. Thanks, Elon Musk, for giving the world porn.
I like that, man. Well, speaking about giving the world porn, let's talk about this week's Rule of Three, Species 3.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so you know it's going to be good when it opens up with some Windows XP screensaver level CGI.
That was pretty bad.
Which tells us everything we need to know about the next nearly 2 hours of our lives.
Oh, God.
A truck darts through the night, helicopters surround in the air, and a hot blonde covered in blood is in the back of a van. We get blurry flashbacks explaining approximately what the past two movies happened, except for clearly they didn't have the rights to the guy from the last one. So they kind of had to dodge around his story a little bit. Well, it turns out that Eve was an alien lady grown in a lab. She's died 2 times, and the driver of the truck has stolen her. He misses a turn, refuses to pull over, and then all of a sudden a little boy pops out of the back like a jack-in-the-box and murders the guard. Somehow Eve is back, but the little boy jack-in-the-box is making its way out, and the boy attacks Eve. Eve has a weird baby protruding from her stomach, and the guard grabs it and runs for it. A search commences from the government. We then get it cut to like a natural gas electric plant, which I thought was definitely going to blow up at the end of the movie, but is not what happened. A swarmy young inventor, scientist, gas plant worker, I guess, gives a presentation on a device that gets hotter than the sun that they keep there, which is just, I was like, why did they just load 2 bullets in a row? For
a fusion reactor in a natural gas plant. They had to do both. Yeah.
Well, because the natural gas fueled the things that kept it cool,
I think.
Well, it turns out the smarmy young guy is a college student named Dean, and one of his professors is the guard that took the baby.
Boom, boom, boom.
I'm just going to refer to him as the professor from here on out. And he's a virologist with a weird sexual and violent disposition towards viruses, as as shown in one of the weirdest introductory scenes I've ever seen in a movie. The dean talks to Dean, saying he's pulling the funding for his Easy Bake Oven project or whatever it is, and that he needs to find a new sponsor. Professor overhears this and starts twiddling his little fingers. Back at the virologist's home, he finds that the baby alien he stole, that it killed the cat, and it's now a 9-year-old girl who wants Red Lobster. She eats with her hands and names herself Sarah. I love that. I wrote this down because it was my immediate reaction. He's putting her to bed in this science lab that he keeps in his basement, and I could hear the writers and director going, how are they going to know it's a science lab? And one guy went, we'll just put a bunch of really annoying high-pitched rapid beeping noises going all the time in the movie. And the director said, won't that interfere with the dialogue? And the other guy said, this movie has a script. So they're in this beep, 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 beep. Like, it was constant. It was nonstop. Eve's body gets autopsied. The military knows she was pregnant, and so now they're on the hunt for the baby. A mysterious bloated Mr. Potato Head looking man knocks on the virologist's door, and he looks like looks like Humpty Dumpty didn't get put back together great. It turns out it's the boy, and he's all grown up, and he got a glasses prescription in the few days he's been alive somehow. He reveals that there are a bunch of half-breeds, and they're all sick, and he begins leaking pus, and his ear falls off. He definitely ruins that carpet.
For sure.
The young hotshot Dean gets called to the professor's house. He shows him dead Humpty Dumpty. He wants to pull alien DNA out of the body and then use science magic to get Sarah pregnant with a perfect alien baby. Meanwhile, Sarah hatches from a cocoon and ruins another carpet. Now she's all grown up and naked all the time for the rest of the movie. The school dean shows up and immediately sexually assaults the alien woman child. Her eyes glow blue with eye magic, and then she transforms and murders him, ruining a third rug.
So many ruined rugs.
So many ruined rugs. The professor and dean come home to find that Sarah's missing. The school dean is dead, and they decide to get rid of the body and try to find Sarah. Sarah finds a frat party, beats the crap out of 2 guys, and then refuses to tongue a third guy.
Very important.
She then gets picked up by a weird hippy dippy lady who thinks the aliens are real, and she's like a crazy conspiracy nut. Sarah then jumps out of a car, chases a moving train, and then falls. Sarah's arm has come off, but she regrows it. Mm-hmm. Dean and the professor are dissecting the alien half-breed. The professor lays out his plan to perfect the alien strain. Another half-breed, however, comes to town, and Sarah starts to bone him, but he's sick too, and she don't want none of that. She heads home and has a blunt and flirty chess game with Dean. Dean's partner / friend, who literally has meant nothing to the plot so far,
his roommate in college,
flirting with a woman online who is seeking a biochemist. And this is not suspicious. And then we get a check-in with the government, basically just to remind us that they're part of the plot. In the lab, the hybrid grabs and attacks Sarah. They both get into these weird alien forms that kind of look like nondescript, like black ninja suits. The professor floods toxic gas into the room, and then somehow in the middle of all of this, the half-breed guy's like, yep, time to rape Sarah. Like, I didn't understand how he was like, it'll kill them both, and then suddenly he was like, yes, must go. I don't understand. Dean rushes in and gets attacked. And then the doc comes in and attacks the half-breed with a saw. The half-breed kills the professor. Dean burns their body to cover Sarah's trail. Man, a lot happened in this movie. Sarah and Dean grow closer, and they get close to banging in a band room. And it turns out that she's just using him because she wants him to continue his work so she can save her species and make a perfect alien species. Mm-hmm. Dean's friend then shows up. He plans to meet with the woman online who, is a half-breed. She fucks a guy to death at a bathroom gas station. A gas station or a bathroom. She then uses Dean's friend roommate to find Sarah. Dean almost walks in on the half-breed but makes a run for it. But then the half-breed woman and Sarah sense each other. And they got weird blue eye magic. Dean gets picked up by the government agents that finally do something. And then the half-breed and Sarah have Dean's roommate at the professor's lab, and they want him to complete his work. They torture him into complying. Dean and the government man hack into the dock system to find a weakness. I don't really... They didn't matter. The half-breed is dying like the others. She's getting sick and deformed, and she tells Sarah how to fix them. She has to do it for the species. The name of the movie. The roommate grabs the eggs, like that are in a thermos, and makes a run for it. They head for the gas power plant from earlier, the gun we loaded. Sarah follows, kills a guard with a gruesome practical split down the middle effect.
That's pretty cool.
Got some writing too. Dean lures the half-blood into a trap at the reactor. He destroys the eggs. Sarah saves him from the half-breed, but at the last minute, Sarah gets dragged into the reactor like Gandalf by the Balrog. The government covers up the whole thing. In a few weeks pass. The friend visits the professor's house, going to inspect the abandoned lab, but he finds a young boy. It's the offspring of Sarah, who's still alive somehow. And Dean, who knew about it, somehow also. It turns out he completed his work, made a perfect alien baby, and Sarah and the man boy, who's now her boyfriend also, wander off into the woods like the apes at the end of Harry and the Hendersons. And once again, he's her son, but also sort of her boyfriend. But Dean reveals that he made the boy sterile. So while she'll have a companion, they can't breed.
Mm-hmm.
The end.
2 hours later.
It was okay. So yeah, let's get into this movie. What was there anything you liked about this movie?
Well, first I want to mention the professor is an actor we just saw in Star Trek Next Generation on Muppet Trek. He a few episodes back.
Yeah, who played Troy's courtier, right?
Yeah, exactly. So he's in a lot of stuff. He was in Heroes and iZombie.
He was one of the best parts of Prison Break. That's where I'll always.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, some good things. I thought surprisingly with how bad this script was and how kind of sloggy this movie was, the acting was pretty good for a lot of the actors. I thought the young actors would end up being crappy, but they were actually pretty good. Like Dean was acting the hell out as best he could with that script. I thought he was good. Obviously the professor was good. Even the smaller parts, like the government agent guy, was very natural and did a good job. So that was fun.
Yeah, if anything, I agree. I think Sarah was the real downfall.
Yeah.
Her playing it alien just simply came off as robotic and didn't give the actors around her anything to play.
Very low energy,
anything.
Like nothing. Like Natasha Hensters did a much better job in the first two, where she was alien-like, but she had charisma. There was something there, like Sarah
she had intensity.
Yeah, Sarah had none of that. It was just a blank stare, like nothing behind the eyes. The gore effects I thought were really good, because besides that one Windows 95 effect in the beginning, I think they mainly stuck to practical effects and not CGI. So, which
they didn't need. And also, I don't know why they did that before the flashback / explanation of the first two movies.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense.
I don't know why that happened.
Like, you immediately start off, I thought it was like going to show us a logo for like a production company, but like, no, this is actually effects in the movie. This is weird. This is bad. So that was straight. But the gore I thought was very good. Like in the alien effects and stuff, they looked great for the time.
Yeah, the guy getting exploded by the Jack in the Box boy.
Yeah, and the Humpty Dumpty guy pussing all over the place. That was really
getting
good.
Split in half. That was good.
He's actually
you're right. The practical effects are great.
Like the Humpty Dumpty guy was in so much makeup, I had no idea who he was, but he's actually a very well-known actor. Like, he's been in a lot of stuff. I don't know his name, but if you look it up, but he's got normally a pretty low voice, and he plays a lot of government agents himself. He looks nothing like the Humpty Dumpty he turned out to be. So it's interesting.
Christopher Neame? No.
Christopher Neame?
No, that's not him. That's the guy who played the Dean.
He had a weird name in the movie. which they don't use, but it's in the
Portis.
Portis.
Yeah. Joel Stoffer. Yeah, I guess I recognize him from stuff.
Yeah, he's like a character actor. He's in tons of things. Usually low stern voice, talks like this all the time. But yeah, and also I had a hard time coming up with the third thing I liked about this movie. So the music was okay, I guess. It was all right.
I did take the time to look up who did the music, admittedly, because that's typically the thing that's like, yeah, but they went on to do blank. And the reality is they went on to do a bunch of other mediocre sci-fi stuff for the most part.
It was all right. It wasn't distracting, so that was good. What good things did you find out about
it? Was quite good. And then there were moments where it just felt so cheap.
Yeah.
Let's see. Elia Kamiral, who's known for doing the movie Ronin, Splinter, Resident Evil Apocalypse.
Okay.
And is still very active. He has 86 composer credits to his name.
He's getting that work. He's making that paycheck.
Yeah, he's making money just doing this.
Yeah, that's all right. He's mediocre composer.
Okay, some things I struggled with.
Oh, things you liked first.
Oh.
You like the gore effects. You like the
gore effects are good. The music was okay. Some of the acting was okay, but nothing could save that script.
Oh my God.
There just wasn't anything in the plot, in the story of the movie to redeem it. People's motivations didn't really make sense in any real way.
And I feel like the crappy thin plot would have been better if it was much shorter. It could have been almost a half an hour shorter.
20 minutes minimum shorter.
Yeah. And
minimum.
So an hour 51, I think is what my media player said. It was like, what am I getting myself into?
Yeah, man.
But like scenes they could have taken out, like Dean working in that fusion reactor facility was just there to shoehorn in that final action set piece. It had nothing to do with the plot. It could have not been there at all. The scenes of Sarah going out in the world trying to find a mate because of what they set up were kind of extraneous and took way too long, and like they weren't connected and didn't make a lot of sense. Them disposing of bodies every single time. We had to watch them do that every time over that lake, like that was another 5-6 minutes you could have cut off the runtime. The whole subplot of the clones or whatever the hell they are, the half-breeds. Like they could have been fine-tuned and it would have been like more adventurous and kind of fast-paced, but it was just like a slog and confusing.
Yeah, and then when the female half-breed showed up at the end, it was basically so they could have a gratuitous sex scene. Like that was basically why she showed up.
Yeah, because they had no gratuitous sex scenes with the main character, Sarah.
Whereas just gratuitous nudity.
They could have streamlined the whole thing and just had, now we have two species. One's a blonde, one's a brunette. And that would have been kind of a cool thing, a little like nemesis type of thing.
Yeah.
That would have been fine. But
then at the end, they're like working together and they're kind of getting along. That was weird.
Yeah. And my biggest complaint, which is it would sound kind of chauvinistic at first, but it's actually kind of appropriate for this movie, is for a franchise that's really all about being sexy, in addition to being a sci-fi horror, it didn't feel like any of the scenes were sexy at all. Like,
no.
Basically, all the nude scenes were every like medical feeling where she's just standing around naked in a lab, or just they jump to horror immediately before anything sexy actually happens. So like camera angles, lighting weren't sexy. The other movies did that. Like I remember being turned on by Species, and the whole idea is that you're getting seduced with the guy in the scene as it's happening so that the movie can shock you when suddenly his head explodes. It's like, because you're being lulled in the sense of like, arousal, and all of a sudden he's dead and so was your arousal, so that didn't happen at all in this movie. Like there was nothing sexy about these nude scenes. Like she has sex in a gross gas station bathroom with a hillbilly. Like nothing was sexy about that. That was just, I don't know. So like they failed at the one thing.
That's why she existed, was to do that.
Yeah. They failed at the one thing these Species movies are known for, which is being sexy sci-fi horror. And it wasn't horrific, and it wasn't, well, it's kind of horrific, the gore, but there was no sexiness. I had never seen so many boobs without being turned on at all.
That's fair. That's a fair assessment.
That's my biggest gripe.
So as far as like things I liked, yeah. A little bit of good acting, but that's kind of it. The movie just struggled in every sense. The technical aspects weren't there. That can be okay if the script is there. The script wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Good actors can pull up a mediocre script. They can't pull up a bad script.
Yeah.
Like, they're just things that couldn't be overcome.
Try your best. It ain't going to happen.
With how tough this movie was. Yeah. So, yeah, no thanks for me.
That's a big no. So
Yeah,
a little bit of trivia we have for this. Not much, because it was a third made-for-TV movie. I'm guessing on a premium channel since it has nudity in it. The original designs for the first two films were by H.R. Geiger, which I was surprised to find out, who's the same guy who did the alien concept drawings. He designed the species alien form for the first two films, which makes sense. But apparently in this film, the producer had the great idea that he wanted them to look different. So he went away from that look, and that's why they look kind of, that was probably the worst practical effects for me, were the alien costumes. They looked really like they were rubberized and you could barely move in them, or the shots were way too close. You couldn't see movement really, or see weirdly. It was that same producer, Frank Manusco Jr., who had that great idea. He wanted this sequel to be aimed more at young adults, so that's why the characters were written to be younger than what was originally planned in the original script. So that's why it was kind of based on a college campus, and I don't think that really worked. And Amelia Cook, who plays the kind of bad half-breed female species, she said her and Sunny Mabry, the actress who plays Sarah, they started attending sci-fi conventions together after this film was released. And they thought it was neat meeting people who cared about the movie, but Cook said it was mostly young guys with sweaty palms staring at her and Mabry and probably picturing them naked, and it got creepy at times, which I thought was a great quote.
That's accurate.
She's like, nope, we stopped going to conventions after that because it just got real creepy and weird. And that's all trivia I got for this film. I tried looking for more. I couldn't find anything.
All right, well, that brings us to a little bit of a game I've got. So I looked up, because this is just Species 3. There's no secondary title, so I, of course, looked at the tagline. And honestly, the tagline for this film is better than it deserved. Listen to this. Species 3, genetic perfection is no longer a dream. It's a nightmare.
Ooh.
Right, better than the movie deserved. So I looked at some other taglines from famous third movie installments. And I'm going to give you the tagline, and you have to tell me the movie.
I'm glad I clicked off of that tab. Okay, good.
What? Get off that goddamn thing.
Yeah, I got off it immediately when I saw
Piece
their
of
stuff
trash. All right. All right, are you ready to play? I've got 7.
Okay.
All right. He's back in an all-new adventure. Memorial Day, 1989.
1989. I'm thinking
third movie.
That could be Back to the Future 3 or E9, the third movie. Or Indiana Jones. I'll go with Indiana Jones.
As Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Yes! It's one of my favorite movies, so I should have gotten that.
All right. Something wicked this way comes.
Oh. It's a third movie in a series.
Third movie in a series. It's not necessarily the final movies in the series. I want you to think that from the Indiana Jones question. Well, I guess even that's not it, because they made 2 more bad ones.
Something wicked this way comes. Oh, it's Halloween 3.
That is not correct.
Oh, shit.
It is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
Ah, wow. I would have guessed that. That's weird.
Well, there's the frogs at the beginning that sing that weird song. Something wicked this way.
Something wicked this way comes.
Right. A fighter, a lover, a legend, the greatest challenge.
Rocky 3.
That is Rocky 3, baby.
Yeah.
All right. In an age of darkness, at a time of evil, when the world needed a hero, what it got was him.
Army of Darkness.
That is Army of Darkness. All right. They saved the best trip for last, but this time they may have gone too far.
Is that National Lampoon's Vacation 3?
I'm sorry, that's not. That's Back to the Future 3.
Damn, I said that earlier.
You did.
Came back around.
All right. There's no place like home for a holiday.
Home Alone 3.
No, you were right next to it. National Lampoon Christmas Vacation, which is actually the third film.
Oh my God, I just did the last question. Damn it. That's really weird, actually.
All right, this is the last one. So far, you've got 50%.
All right, okay. So
this is make or break.
This could be it.
On a good day, he's a great cop. On a bad day, he's the best there is.
Die Hard with a Vengeance.
That is Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Yes.
And with that, you come out 4 right, 3 wrong. That's a win.
It means I passed the class. I didn't fail.
You did, but it doesn't count towards your major.
Oh, damn it. It's an elective.
Well, that's been Species 3 taglines. And now does that take us to some radical recommend?
It does.
Recommend.
If you have the means, I highly recommend picking one up.
What do you recommend I do?
I recommend Pleasant.
So I've just been mainly working since our last episodes. Not a whole lot of new things in my life, except for I would take some time out of each one of my days. I'd be editing 2 chapters. I'd stop and play a game of Hearthstone and I'd go back. So I stopped doing that because I got tired of it. A new patch came out and my new deck sucks. So I kept losing. So I'm like, why don't I watch some TV shows for a little while, like 15-minute chunks before I go back to work? So I found one that I want to watch before The Boys season 3 comes out because I love the show The Boys. And so I started watching Gen V, which came out a while back on Amazon Prime Video. And I've been putting it off because it's The Boys, which is all about, it's like if superheroes were actually in our reality, how it would actually be. And they're all terrible and awful human beings. Great show. But then Gen V is basically a spin-off show where it takes place in a college where they basically train young superheroes to be the professional superheroes they'll be later in that same universe. And it's actually really good, incredibly violent, very sexual, but just like brutal kind of show, but also funny as hell at parts. I will give away one thing. There's a miniature person who's jerking off a regular sized penis at one point. It's ridiculous. That's the level it goes to.
That's how you know it's good.
Yeah. So not for the children to watch for sure. But Gen V, Steve, have you watched The Boys? I didn't know if you've seen that.
I've watched The Boys, yes. I've only watched maybe 1 or 2 episodes of Gen V. I also watched the animated spin-off-y thing.
I wanted to see that.
That was real good. I recommend that.
Is the animated spin-off canon, do you know? I don't know if it is.
I don't know. It seems like some parts might be.
It probably is. I'm not sure. Yeah, we'll check it out.
But they're all different stylistically and makes it interesting to watch. So even if you don't like one, it doesn't mean you're not going to like all of them.
That's true. Well, that's cool. It's kind of an anthology-ish. But yeah, I recommend Gen V because it's been very good so far. All these young actors I've never seen before are all really great. And there's a lot of cameos from the Boys cast in there as well. So check it out. But I think that brings us to some trailer reviews.
All right. This week, I picked another 3rd installment in a famous alien invasion franchise. That's, of course, the new trailer that just released for Venom, The Last Dance.
Yeah.
So what do you think of this?
You sound so tentative. So I only saw the first one, and it was all right. I think we probably talked about it in the show.
It was okay.
It was all right. It was nothing to write home about, but it was like, it felt like a movie that came out in the early 2000s, which was just
I think we covered it by watching Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's how we celebrated the first Venom.
With Tobey Maguire dancing around on the street.
That's right.
But I didn't see the second one because I just didn't have enough interest to bother. But this trailer looks really good. And actually, I did a video on this from a media company I work for to do voiceovers. And I did one for talking about this movie coming out. And apparently how one of the producers of the first 2 films, this a woman who they're saying they're giving her directorial duties in this movie, and Tom Hardy is also producing with her, and they gave them complete freedom of creative control over this film.
Wow.
So this is the first one where it's just her and him have complete control of the script, complete control of her final cut. They let them kind of do what they want, probably within reason. And so they said that's kind of unprecedented. So they said they don't know how this will turn out, but the trailer, I think, looks a lot more entertaining than the second movie trailer did. So that's why I never saw the second one. So I don't know. It made me a little more interested, but not a huge amount. I don't know. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, the first one was okay. The second one was less okay.
You saw
my assumption is this one will be slightly less okay than the last one. I do like some of the aspects we're seeing where it's much more symbiotic, like it's both of them participating and that sort of thing. But like his planet's coming to our planet. He'll have to fight some other tentacle monster with a giant mouth. I think that's really the downfall of Venom and the way they've had to treat it because of the universal restrictions based from like a rights perspective. It's always him, a big, crazy, gooey, toothy thing going up against another big, crazy, scary, toothy thing.
Yeah, that's what made Spider-Man the cartoon so fun, was that it was like the Rhino versus Venom versus different kind of creatures fighting each other. And it's always same versus same in these movies. Yeah, so if they can find some clever way to differentiate it, I guess I'm here for it, but I probably won't see this one in theaters at least. No, yeah. I do like the end scene in the trailer where he lets the Venom symbiote take over a horse. And so the horse is like now like a Venom horse. That was pretty badass. I probably did like that. So yeah, how fast do you think you can make that thing go without killing it? Let's find out. And he jumps into the horse. That was pretty cool. I'll give him that. So I'm going to give this one. It's like Raul Julia pulls in to the garage, parks a car, gets his jacket, heads inside. He walks inside and there's like a weird smell, but he can't quite put his finger on it. It's just off, but he's like, maybe I left the fridge open. So he ventures into the kitchen and there's Gary Busey in the middle, and he's covered his whole body with ground burger meat. He's like, look, I'm Venom, but the red one. I don't remember the Carnage. I'm Carnage. And Raul just goes, nope. And he takes him and he pushes him outside in the front yard. Closes the door and locks it, and Gary's like, hey, what, Raul? Come on, man, Raul. And just as that, all the neighborhood dogs are gathering. This already has a better plot than Species 3. And maybe Venom 3, too. Probably. We'll oh, my God. Well, yeah, I guess I'll give this one the reality of the comics. It's very simple, not very funny, but true, that basically Gary Busey is the Venom symbiote to Raul Julia. Probably the crazy one. Wasn't there Carnage and then one that's like really nuts? Yeah, and it's like a lady one, maybe. I thought the one was Carnage who Woody Harrelson played in the second movie. I think so. Oh, okay. I thought there was like a goofy one too, like because the goofy one would be perfect for Gary Busey. But I could totally see Gary Busey just being a symbiote that is infected Raul Julia's being and life. He's just like, come on, Raul. Yeah, no, you're not taking over. He's just over his body. There's a huge costume of Gary Busey on top of Raul Julia. Oh, that's terrifying. Well, that brings us to the end of episode 199 of A Play on Nerds. And that's right. Yeah. That's right. Join us next time for episode 200. That's right. Our 200th episode somehow. Yeah. And we had a big special episode for our 10-year anniversary. That felt more important to our hearts. Episode 200 will still be amazing. Oh, it's going to be very special. I never lie to you guys about that. So special, we have no idea what we're doing yet. No idea, but it's like a fun surprise. For all of us. For all of us. But from us to you, keep on coming coming back, Bun. Of the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes of the keep on coming back and being our nerdy audience. We will keep on coming back for another 200 episodes and being your nerdy co-hosts. Thanks again, Internet. Stay nerdy, my friends.
Thanks for listening to A Play on Nerds. Feel free to email feedback at aplayonnerds.com with all your questions or comments.
Shoot us a message on Facebook or Twitter and earn yourself a sweet shout out on the show.
Review us on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts so even more nerds can find us. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, we aren't picky.
Check out our entire back catalog and other offerings at aplayonnerds.com.
And how?